And we are having with us Birupaksh Chaudhary, who has almost 20-25 years of experience around database and security. Tapasda, who is an expert on database security. And we'll be trying to understand the relevance, importance, and statutory compliances which are there. Not to mention, we'll try and simplify the topic as easy as possible so that users are able to embark on the journey. So without much ado, without wasting everybody's time, I will request Biruda and Tapasda to give a few minutes of an introduction and then take the journey of database security. Over to you, Biruda. Would request a few minutes.
Yeah, sure. So I have been working in databases all through my life, and that journey has now become almost around more than 2 decades. So I worked in almost all aspects of databases, starting from development, coding, database designing, architecture as DBAs, as very large data volume DBA, and then as data architect, as a data warehousing architect. And then in my journey, I also encountered quite a few critical database security issues. I have worked in the most famous database company of the world, which is Oracle, for 6 years. And I have worked in Oracle databases for most of my life, and on a few other databases for some time. So all in all, what I can say is that I am here today to discuss a few things on this particular topic, which I feel that there should be some more traction required from the customer community, which we will go ahead and discuss in the next few minutes of time. I would request Tapas. Tapas is my colleague. He is junior to me. He is one of the best, database performance specialists and security specialists, and he has quite a few database security implementations to his credit. I will not steal the thunder from him. I would allow him to, introduce himself briefly. Over to you, Tapas.
Yeah, thank you, Biruda, and thank you, Umeshda. So basically, I am also an Oracle DBA. So my journey into the Oracle platform, from it's almost about completing the 17 years in this field, and primarily I was working as an Oracle DBA, and after providing the supports related to the Oracle databases, I have worked mainly for the purpose of the performance tuning, and I love to work on the databases security portions, performance tuning and implementation, as well as for architect designing for the Oracle databases. And now, as we all aware and we know that data is one of the important and the critical thing for everyone and everywhere, so it is our primary responsibility to preserve our data, to save our data. And for this, there are several components. Apart from the network security, there are securities available for the database aspects, and where we will talk today on this particular episode, where we will discuss on the security portions that we can implement with respect to the databases. Over to you, Mazda.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So I'll start with a short story. I don't have a very deep understanding about databases, but being a salesman, I know what needs to be positioned. But what I've seen very recently, I had a discussion with somebody, and I'll not name the company, but I understood that there was a significant breach by the employee of the company only, and the loss was not only data, but in terms of crores and crores of money. And the administrator was privy to certain passwords, certain accesses, and there was direct loss in terms of money to the company. Honestly speaking, in my 15, 16 years in IT sales, since last 6 years, I'm seeing that there is significant amount of intervention on database security. I was listening about firewalls and networks and stuff like that. So at this juncture, in the last 4 or 5 years, what has changed and why database securities has become, so important, despite knowing about network security and stuff?
Yeah. What I feel is that this focus should have come much earlier. But we all know that the most sensitive part, the most sensitive crown jewels of a company reside inside the relational databases. Be it customer information, be it their internal information, be it the vendor information, their manufacturing processes, information related to all those things. So it is the host. The host is a relational database in general. Now, if we are thinking that the firewall will protect this, then obviously we are in a fool's paradise, to say it very bluntly, because firewalls only protect the perimeter. Now, and bypassing the firewall is not at all a difficult job. So you are protecting the perimeter, that's a very fantastic thing, but the actual crown jewels are not at the perimeter. They are in the relational database, deep inside the organization. The question is, if somebody has a very strong firewall, can he reach the database? Can he bypass the firewall and reach the database? The answer is yes, and it is not at all difficult to do that. It can be done in 3 ways. One, by the insider, who is inside the firewall itself. 2, through a technique called SQL injection, in which you can actually provide parameters to a proper web application in such a way that it can actually do some mining within the database. I mean, I would not go to the great technical detail on that, but it's not at all a difficult thing to do. And number 3 is by exploiting an existing vulnerability of a software application. If you see, in all these 3 layers, in all these 3 cases, that is in insider, in SQL injection, and to exploit the vulnerability of an application, nobody even needs to touch the firewall. Nobody needs to touch the firewall. It's a completely different pathway within the database. And there are enough researchers to suggest that more than 60 or 70, maybe that also is a very conservative number that I am telling, breaches happen through these pathways. So that is why it is very important at this point in time to look into the database security aspect with great seriousness. And the other thing is the law. I mean, there are very clear laws framed in India, governed by
Biruda,
yes.
law ke pehle,
Right.
before getting to the law part, let us thoda sa dumb down karke let us have a very simple. Suppose I am a database administrator working in a bank. Now, I am administrator. I am fairly not the highest level. I'm fairly at a management level, and I have fair amount of accesses to the core banking application.
Right.
What all ways can I hit the bank? Can I steal money? Can I take the data and sell? What all bad things I can do? Putting the white hat, kind of hacker's mind. I'm just a database administrator, and I have, So Tapas, I would love to hear from you what all harm I can do.
So it's a very good question, and it's pretty interesting question also, because the database administrator who are working and they are protecting the database, they are handling the database, but at the same time they have the full access towards the database. That means the database administrator not only can access the system related database, but they have the access for the user data also. Right? User data. Now, the DBAs, those who are working and they are providing support for the database, they easily can query the end user's data. They can search it, they can populate on the screen. If the data is populated on the screen, so we know that everyone what the next step they can use, they can do, they can take this data and they can do whatever they want. So now there are features available in the, if we are talking about the Oracle database, basically we have for the Oracle.
Yeah, we have specialization.
Yeah. So for Oracle database, there is a license that is called database vault. If we implement database vault in the database, then there is a proper segregation wall created between the end users database and the.
Suppose that we will come to the product later. Just tell me, if I have that login ID, password, and I know a bit of SQL and I understand, what all harm I can do to the company. Can I steal money?
Yes.
I mean, I can steal the entire company's critical
you can
data.
update the transactions if there is no proper restrictions maintained in the database level or in the application level. That can be updated.
It can be a very stupid way, but let me tell you, sometime back I had seen a movie जिसमें क्या होता, the database administrator or the techie guy who was there, वो क्या करता था, the very very small changes, 0.05 paisa, 0.06 paisa, that he could siphon away to a, and when the transactions are say 1 million और उसमें से 2 रुपए भी ये कर रहा है, so that anyway. So I understand, which means we can do humongous amount of harm to it. Now, setting this in thought that the kind of harm I did, what are the statutory compliances which are there? I'm sure government and respective regulatory bodies might have thought about the things that this is there, this can happen. So maybe if you can, Viruda, tell us what kind of guidelines or what kind of compliances which are there set by the government, so that people with large amount of important data should implement them.
Right, that is correct. I mean, there are many. I mean, the compliance, the regulatory framework or the regulatory environment on which we are working today, it is changing very, very rapidly, and everyone is getting a feel that with more of digitization and digital transformation, when data is becoming a digital asset, this is the time when the responsibility of protecting the data also is becoming humongous. Correct? So there are multiple regulatory compliance. Most of them are industry-specific compliance. Some compliance is government-specific, which is being mandated by the government. So, for example, RBI has, from 2016. If you see RBI's journey, I would take only a couple of minutes to explain this. They published something called the Master Direction on IT Framework. When they're at 2016, which is around 10 years back, they had clearly mentioned the importance of audit trails, access control, and database activity monitoring. It's a very clearly documented thing in that particular document. And then, as in 2016, they had also come up with a cyber security framework. Cyber security framework does not have a direct correlation with database security, but yes, they had mandated data protection at rest, which is to encrypt the data within the database. And they had also, in that particular framework, they also clearly mentioned one thing, which is the real-time monitoring of privileged users, privileged activity, which means what the DVA is doing. Privileged users is a community which is very important within any organization. And it can go in the correct way, it can also go in the wrong way.
Right.
In a very layman terms, if I say to a technical community, who is a privileged user? Somebody who has a sys or system password. If there is somebody who has a system password of a database, you tell me that what is hidden from him. The question is how to protect this. So there are guidelines from RBI and another point that I want to mention, which has been a very, very recent development, that is the Ministry of Corporate Affairs mandate, which mandates that there are certain organizations that will have to keep the digital record of their transaction, and there has to be audit trails that would satisfy the following condition. Each of the financial transactions has to be audited. The audit data has to be kept in an immutable and unmodifiable form, and should be made available to the auditors as and when required. This is the Ministry of Corporate, and this setup must be ready for implementation by 1st April 2023. Apart from that, there are DPDP, guidelines, GDPR guidelines, PCI DSS for credit card industry, HIPAA for healthcare. I mean, there are many, but these two are some I would call the one from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, the other for RBI are the two flagship regulatory frameworks.
Yes, in fact, compliances. In fact, when I did some work on compliances, TRAI has its own set of compliances for telecom. National Digital Health Mission has its own compliances for hospitals. IRDA has it for insurances. But yes, and DPDPA is a blanket rule which is extremely important, and it has a significant amount of loss if not privacy of data is not mentioned. So setting that aside, today we have many type of databases in the market, right? Relational, non-relational, and then you have snowflakes and other things which are kind of extremely nimble cloud and stuff like that. So my question would be, can we have an umbrella database security thing, that okay, I have umbrella database security tool or a policy which we can implement across all the databases? Because मेरे organization में मैं तो Excel, I am saving my data in Excel sheet. Then there is something which is there on SQL. Then there is some happening new age guy will use EDB. Then there will be core which will be there on Oracle or SAP car database. There will be a segment. Can we have something umbrella, or do we need to go specific one by one and manage and have a policy first and then the tool? So what can be the method to do that?
Actually, it should be centralized.
Acha, okay.
Centralized monitoring, and all the audits for the databases, it should come under centralized location. Centralized location will be there. It will be connected to all its agents. We call it as agents. So all the agents will be connected to that particular audit system. All the audits will be preserved in a centralized database.
Okay. So basically you suggest that we should have a central method, maybe a central team which comes under CISO or a database information security platform, and then we can have a database security, and then we can have one policy and multiple tools for every kind of database. If that is okay. Dada, one very very basic question. मैंने जब से career IT में शुरू किया, I have heard firewalls, then firewalls, then next generation firewalls, then XDR, EDR, stuff like that. Somewhere I have not heard much about database security. Last 5 years it is like एक्सपोनेंशियल ई कर्व की तरह भागा है. ऐसा क्यों? मेरे पास नेटवर्क सिक्योरिटी है, क्या जरूरत है डेटाबेस सिक्योरिटी का?
Correct.
Why?
That's a very fantastic question. So as I said, see, if you have written something which is legitimate, correct, and your firewall will not catch it, correct. Say for example, you have an application which is working, which is hitting the HTTPS port. It's a legitimate application, correct? It's legitimate. There is no way that the firewall can catch it, right? But that code has something which will bring out inadvertently some personal identifiable information from the database. For example, that application has a select star from customer table. See, in legacy application, there are enough of these examples, enough. If you have a web application, which is a genuine application, some hacker injects an SQL to get the entire data dump out of the database. He is the application vulnerability, and he is bypassing the firewall layer. Firewall will understand that application as a genuine application. What is the problem? It's running on proper HTTPS port. Within the application, the firewall cannot peep into. What traffic is going into the database, that the firewall cannot peep into. The firewall only can peep into a traffic which is coming to the network. It is a genuine traffic, but has something, some problem, some malicious code within it. Then what can the network firewall do? So because you have, in your experience, you have, and then web application firewall and then next generation firewall. Let me give you another firewall today, which is database firewall.
This is simpler language, but I think to make people like us understand.
So what this product will do is it will understand the traffic coming to the database. Like the firewall understands the traffic coming to the network, it will understand the traffic coming to the database. If it sees something is fishy, for example, it sees a select star kind of a statement, it sees some wildcard character in a normal username or authentication query, it will block those SQLs from going into the database. Like the network firewall blocks those kind of traffic coming to the database. This is another thing that I wanted to,
And I will also want to add here something. Umesh, as you said that network security to hai, but suppose मेरा तो secure हो गया मेरा पूरा network. I will add one more layer here. The database administrator or the application developers who are working for the database. Okay? Now they will have the direct access to the database. They will have the access to the server, because say suppose now if I am saying that he is not a database administrator but he is a server administrator, that means he is a root user of the instance. So once a user who is having the access to the server, then he can easily get access to the database. Now when that person is getting access to the database, for him network security layer will gone, that is not there. That means he is directly getting access to the database. Now if he is having the access to the database, then something must be there that is protecting the database from the users not to do any kind of malicious or any kind of update, delete or insert in the database. For that reason, security is required.
Smart people who are equipped to do damage, it also prevents that. And perhaps I just about 70 to 80% of the breaches is because of insiders. May not be with bad intent as well. Maybe ignorance, slippage and those kind of things. Right. So
and now in this era where we are available in the internet, where we can get any details, how nobody require now how to write a SQL. He can easily get these SQL details and everything from as we know that there is multiple AI chatbots are there.
So if the root and if the correct instance name and everything is put, it will give exactly what you just have to copy and paste. Nothing. Now since we have focused this on the Oracle database part, we don't have much time, so we will just keep it short and a little. I have a couple of more questions and one question from the audience which I find it interesting. I'll throw it. One, can you just give an outline of the Oracle security portfolio which is there? And what kind of products there? Maybe a brief names and maybe
See, if we understand the pillars of database security, it will probably be 5 or 6 pillars. First is the access control. The critical thing in access control is to prevent a privileged user from getting access to business data. For example, if I am a DBA of a database, my job is to DBA, do the DBA, increase table space and all those things. I am not privy to go to the GL table and see the finance data for that. I'm not doing. So that is first, which is access control, which is called as also the discretionary access control. The corresponding product for this is database vault. Okay. Second is encryption. RBI for financial institutions and for NBFCs. See, if there is an Oracle database and if you have really taken an export dump, right? And if somebody has actually tried to open the export dump in a VI editor and search for a string, it actually, if you see in most of the cases, it shows you the string, which means you can actually see a personally identifiable data from an export dump. That is number one. Number two, somebody runs away with your dump, he can incarnate the entire database.
Yes.
So it is very important to encrypt the backup at least.
So that if somebody has, even if they have been able to or managed to get it, it will not be, they will not be able to decipher it. That's number one. So that is the database, transparent data encryption, which comes under the advanced security options portfolio of Oracle. The only job is not to do the backup encryption, but to encrypt the data at rest itself. So that the data at rest is encrypted, the backup also is encrypted. And the other thing is the auditing. To be securely able to understand what are the changes happening within the database, who is accessing the database, what are the privileged user actions taking place within the database. What is it doing? Assess the activities of the privileged user and to audit the transactional tables and to keep that audit in an immutable format, unchanged, safe, immutable format. The product is Oracle Audit Vault. Combined with this is the database firewall feature, which will stop the malicious SQLs getting into the database and executing, is the database firewall. So in Oracle's parlance, it is Audit Vault and Database Firewall combined as a product. So primarily three products. For encryption, it is Oracle Advanced Security Option. For privileged user access control, it is Oracle Database Vault. And for auditing, the database activity monitoring also, which we call as DAM, it is the Oracle Audit Vault and Database Firewall. So more or less, in a very simple term, this is the overall product portfolio that needs to be implemented to get a correct and a reasonably secure Oracle database.
And I will also like to add two more features here. One is called redaction, that comes under ASO. So what does this redaction does? So suppose there are two users, two developers. One is a senior developer and another one is a junior developer. Now, there should be a mechanism where, like salary of a person, that shouldn't be available to every user. So redaction is ASO, means advanced security options. It is available under advanced security options where the data can be redacted. The actual data will preserve in the data blocks, but the person will view that data, he will get something different. Like we see in the part that some marks is there, so it will come as a marks, right? One. And the other and the very important license or the Oracle feature that is called database masking. So what does this masking means? Say suppose we are transferring our data from production to the test environment. We require some investigation on the database or from the application end. So that time we have to move the data from production environment to the test. Now, while moving the data from the production to the development or to the test environment, even when we have to, sometimes we have to provide a set of data to the OEM also. That time also we cannot get the exact data requested person. So there, this particular product that is called database masking, if we implement that, in the fly, the data will get masked and it will get converted and it will get transferred to the recipient side.
Okay. So basically we have ASO, database vault, database firewall, audit wall. One short query, what or thought which comes to my mind is, okay, it has an audit vault which audits the movement of the administrators from this database to that database, when he has access, what he has. Do we have something, a dashboard kind of thing, wherein a person can see that, okay, this is the activity which is happening, and this administrator who is authorized for this, but he is navigating into the region where he is not authorized to, or something not normal is happening. Do we have some analytical tool, or do we have some method wherein we can figure out that things are happening which is going beyond normal or standard?
It's present in audit vault.
Okay. Right. So a couple of more things, if somebody wants to initiate, or somebody wants to embark on the database security Oracle perspective only, or maybe we can try and put in a generic, how should one start with, or where should one start with? Simple steps together, because this is a complex journey to take, not only technically, commercially as well. And so how would you recommend that 4 or 5 steps where to start with, or maybe few steps on how to start with?
So there cannot be a specific recommendation for this, because see, we will have to keep in perspective that every company is different, every industry is different, and they are driven by a different set of regulatory compliance. Correct?
Yes.
For example, if I take a manufacturing industry, which is not regulated extremely from the financial perspective, except for its books of records. Correct. So a manufacturing industry will not be regulated by RBI, but it will be regulated by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. What Ministry of Corporate Affairs says? You give me an immutable, unchangeable audit trails of all your financial transactions. That is the statement. And therefore, in all likelihood, a manufacturing company or manufacturing industries company will begin naturally with the implementation of audit vault, because that's the product that matches this requirement. On the other hand, if you see the banks, so there is a clear mandate from RBI to ensure, for that, the banks are more likely to embark on a journey of implementing Oracle Advanced Security option first. There might not be a very generic answer to this, but the important thing is to remain aware of the regulatory compliances, understand how which products can help, engage with experts, and then take this journey forward.
Yeah. Mera, one more thought was, besides the regulatory thing, maybe we can ask a couple of important questions. Which is my most critical data, and which is my begin from there. Like एक regulatory telecom का या hospital के लिए या telecom के लिए, their customer set is the most important data.
Yes.
And then of course their financials. Bank के लिए, the transaction of the customers is the most important data. So maybe we can, right. This is my final thing, and this is from an aspirational person who they wish to have a career out of in database security. So what will be your I'd like few words, what would be your recommendation to people who are taking this or initiating their career in database and how should they navigate?
Yes. So for this, actually, the thing is that for implementing and giving support for the database security part, a person who is having a good knowledge in database, that is the first primary requirement for a DBS, to have a very good knowledge on the Oracle database. And the application also. Why the application knowledge is required? Because whenever you implement the audit for a particular organization, or for a particular, say suppose a particular kind of product the organization are handling. So that particular product, they have to know that how they will implement the audit for those particular products. They will get help from the end users also, but yes, if the knowledge they have with that particular product, then they can design and they can implement the audit in a very, very good way, and they can actually implement the MCA guidelines that is there for protecting the data, for protecting the audit for this data. This is the primary objective, and this is what DBA should require. And for the organization who will implement this, for them I will say that they should actually start with the Oracle Audit Vault, because this is the primary need of an organization now, to have a particular trail log for any kind of transaction, any kind of update and inserts happening in the database. So Audit Vault is very much required. They should start with the Audit Vault.
So what I gathered, Tapas, from your discussion was two things. One is a person who is starting his career, he should first understand the database and the kind of application which is there. Maybe he should have as much exposure and training on that as possible, and then graduate to security portion. That will give a much better route. My second is Audit Vault. Is it can we integrate Audit Vault to any kind of database, or is it only relevant to Oracle database?
No, you can actually integrate Audit Vault to gather, the audit trails from heterogeneous databases also. See, Audit Vault is a DAM tool. You can visualize this as a DAM tool along with a firewall attached to it. It's a very, very scalable, very lightweight, very easily implementable database activity monitoring. But apart from database activity monitoring, it can do 1, 2, 3, 4 more things. Right? So it can monitor activities of heterogeneous databases, non-Oracle also.
So coming back to this, how should a fresher approach this?
Right.
Yeah. How should a fresher approach this career?
See, the reality is that this skill is actually a very niche skill. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly speaking, India has not seen a great market of this yet. As the other, I mean, I'm not saying great requirements. Requirements is absolutely there, but a very structured approach, a jugaad-free approach, what we call a structured approach to this problem, which is reasonably jugaad-free and scalable, sustainable, and will actually provide some kind of sustainable, competitive and compliance advantage to a company, has not yet been explored to the fullest in India. That is also a reality, which is changing, but it is changing slowly. But in India, as things start changing, they pick up an exponential pace. I think that inflection point has come at this point in time. But as Tapas said, this requires a combination of skill, understanding of databases, understanding of application programs, and understanding of security. These three combined together. So obviously, a DBA who aspires to be also a security specialist, a good way is to do the necessary certifications that are available with the manufacturers, like Oracle, for example, to get a very, structured pathway of learning. Otherwise, it is easy to, get swayed away, because there are a lot of products, lot of applications, lot of things to be implemented, and to remain gradual in the journey of that. Do a couple of implementation and get an expertise. It is going to be a very valuable skill, but a very niche skill.
Okay. Yes, I understand when you're saying a niche skill, which means that still database security is not a much emphasized area, despite it being so critical. I think we need to spread some more awareness. But why do you think it is like that? I mean, just 2 minutes more. Why?
There is a general, I would say misconception. Misconception that firewall is everything.
Network firewall, you mean?
Network firewall.
network firewall. Yes.
There is also a lack of study on how the breaches have happened historically. Right. I mean, these are the things that people need to get more and more aware of. Right. I mean, and obviously, I would also make the the regulatory authorities responsible for this in a way that they only issue guidelines, but they do not issue the necessary information and the education as to why they are issuing these guidelines. It's kind of a big brother approach they are playing, that do this, otherwise you are non-compliant. Why? What is the reason? Where is that popularization happening? If that happens, I think people in India, I mean, it's a land of smart people. We are seeing it for the last few days.
I'm sure now, I can give a very, very basic analogy. Like earlier, police would catch up when we were young, not for not wearing helmet. Now we know that we must wear helmet, not because police will catch, but because it is very, very important. So it has been a very, very good discussion. I learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners would have learned. I'll give a recording of this. I'll share it on YouTube as well as to participants. Thank you, Birudar. Thank you, Tapas Bhai.
Thank you.
It's been a very good discussion. We'll bring more something smart and equipped solutions for our guests and for our learning as well. Have a lovely weekend.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Umesh, for arranging this session.
More to come. Thank you, Birudar.
Thank you.